So good evening, everybody, and welcome to A Life is Too Short. We have an event every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. You're welcome any Wednesday. We still have a lack of venues here in Edinburgh, and so we're going to keep going, and we just have been enjoying every week. We've been reading different poems, different prose from different people, and a lot of poetry and prose from ourselves, and stories about life, to be honest. Stories about life, what's going on right now in Scotland and in different parts of the world. I've just said goodbye to my daughter, Roisin. He's just off to work. She works night shift in a care home up the road, and things are stabilised there a bit. But anyway, I'd like to introduce you to Lesley Traynor, Nicole Carter, Karen Anderson, David McDonald, and Jean Pfeiffer. And I'm delighted to say that Jean has joined us from the United States of America. We're absolutely thrilled. So this is something that would not happen in a venue in Edinburgh, to have a visitor from the United States. We're really, really, really happy. And then we have Karen Anderson, who's actually dialing in from Greece tonight. David is dialing in. Are you dialing in from Fife tonight, David?
I am, yes.
Right, and Nicole is dialing in from Edinburgh, just up the road, not too far from us. And we have Lesley, who's dialing in from Glasgow. So, we're all over the place, and we're going to enjoy tonight. It's going to be fantastic. And so, I think what we normally do is if you read someone else's work, if there's somebody work that you admire or that has been like a mentor to you, that's what we normally do every week, and as well as reading our own work. I've kind of chosen tonight Martin Stepik, Mindful Poems, so that's what I'll be reading tonight, as well as I've chosen Stephen Barnaby. I love them both in different ways, but they really make my soul sing. They make me very happy, the both of them. So that's what I'll be reading later on. But I'd love to introduce you, first of all, please, to Lesley Traynor. Thank you.
Hi. You were mentioning Martin's mindful poetry.
Yeah.
I often go to, it's a Buddhist retreat down in the Borders, and once when I was there, one of the nuns had died, and I was there on a mindful retreat actually, and I had to read poetry at her service, and it was quite emotional. That was quite an experience, and that's what always makes me think when I see Martin's work as well. Tonight I'm going to read some of Helen Allison's work. Now, Helen is a Scottish poet, well published, award winning, but in her last collection I had the total pleasure of reading it in advance and also writing the blurb that went on the back. So I'm just going to read, she writes very short poems. She's a runner, I should also mention that. This is called 5 Castle Street. I'm night running towards my childhood. My father's gates lean from their hinges, the paving stones bedded with weeds. A red car curves onto the gravel drive. I crouch on the pavement to retie laces, wait for the man to unlock the door. He turns the key while pulling the handle tight, a family trick now performed by strangers. The door opens, and there's the light switch. A body's width of wallpaper, then it shuts. Hall patterned like branches poking through mist, the switch a yellowed ornament refusing to fall. Streetlights give one last minute of dark before setting fire to the past. She writes a lot of nature in weird ways. So I'm going to read another one. It's called The Heart of the Poem. Striking the motorcyclist below the knee, A barn owl explodes like a burst pillow. The biker's boot filled with shit and feathers. Braking hard beside the bridge, he wipes the leather black, breathes the air outside his helmet. Lying outstretched on the road, one wing covers the owl's heart, a red purse emptying. Bleeding miles into the forest, the rider spends what remains, wavering beauty, definite flight. She's a lovely poet, Helen, lovely person as well.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lesley. That was really gorgeous, that. Really gorgeous. What I like about our recording is, Jean, is that we can actually listen back, you know, in comfort, listen again to the poems. So this is another reason why we're recording them. Nicole Carter, please, if you'd like to read some poetry, that'd be amazing, or some prose.
Yes, hello. That was amazing, Lesley. Really lovely stuff. Yeah.
Pretty.
This is actually Christy Williamson's book, Ruan Feathers. Now, Christy Williamson is from Shetland, and he writes poetry in both English and Shetlandic. So Ruan Feathers is his first full collection, and I think he's got a couple other collections as well. This is from 2015, I think, this book, by Luath Press. So this is Revolution. Excuse the really novice Shetlandic accent, although my dad's from Shetland, but he didn't have a Shetlandic accent. So anyway, this is Revolution. Every morning the sun hals licht, like skirtvis o flibbering fish o'er the height, o'er the length always afore the world haze is circumnavigated. Hits way back to where that began. A day comes and gains, full lang does hit tack, to fin out what matters, to keen what never will. As lang as hit tacks, to pit the lips to work, on a plum i' the sun, as lang as hit tacks, to run the perfect bath and lay in him, as lang as it tacks, to live the only life. Well, see, in his lifetime, it started where he'd poken out like the sun fae and under a cloud. Amazing. And as I said, my dad was from Shetland, and it's like, I've only been up a couple of times. And yeah, so it is a very, very different accent, stroke language. It's very Scandinavian sounding, obviously, from the latitude that it's on. But no, Christy's a good guy. I've met him a few times. He did one of our 3Cs, didn't he, David? Yeah. We do 3Cs open mic at the Sturfing Community Centre hopefully every Friday at the end of the month. Hopefully that'll get started again soon. So David hosts and I just do sort of management and stuff. But yeah, Christy did one of our gigs and he was brilliant. Really, it's amazing to hear the Shetlandic accent, you know, kind of properly spoken. So, do you want another one, or will we wait until later? Or, yeah, another one. I'll do one from Mañana Attitude, which is one of my books. It's not in Spanish. I just thought of calling it Mañana Attitude because I have a Mañana attitude for a lot of things, which I probably shouldn't. So this is Bucky Early June. Mum's white towels flap in the sea breeze, surrendering to the rhythm of the waves, lapping on the nearby shingle shore. She pops out of the back door, asks me if I want a cup of tea, and makes me smile. It's early June in Bucky, the not too hot, just perfect heat of the sun, reflecting off the tall white walls surrounding the patio, making me feel like I can breathe again, even though I'm a chain-smoking asthmatic. Just at this moment, I don't mind having to smoke outside when I visit. Memories of the past aren't grating on my brain for once. Instead, here and now, remembering my dream last night of a teenage love is actually quite pleasant. Well, at least it wasn't yet another nightmare. Reflections of swifts and gulls in the smooth granite tabletop as they fly overhead aren't as cold as when I've been sitting here in winter. Salty, cold rain chilling me to the core, wishing I had won the lottery and was living in a chateau in Provence, even though I've never been there and don't actually know what it's like. I'm sure the local cheeses would be good, but I'm lactose intolerant. I'd probably enjoy the bread, but I'm also slightly gluten intolerant. Maybe a Castello on the Costa Blanca then. I hope the seafood is fresh because I'd be able to eat the paella. Bucky in early June just now will recharge my batteries just enough till I come back again, despite all the wee spiders in the washing lines, despite the drizzle tomorrow, despite my stepdad saying I drink too much coffee with that glint in his eyes, like the mica in the boulders that hold back the sea 100 metres away, eyes full of mischief and humour.
Thanks, Nicole. That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. Karen, do you have a poem or something you can read? Prose?
Yep. As I explained, I don't have any poetry books of my own here, but nor had I anything I'd written here, but it's been a very good spur to actually get on and do. So I've got two poems here, one by someone I admire and one that I've done, and they're sort of related. And if I tell you that one thing, I'm very fortunate because our house is isolated. It sits on a very high piece of ground above the cliffs above water. And we have a lot of what's known as the Multemi wind at the moment. And the Multemi comes and it blasts around the house. And so it's fantastic because you get the heat of the Aegean, but the wind of Shetland. And it's just a great combination because it keeps you cool and it's very atmospheric, especially if you're poetic. And I say that loosely. So the first one is, it's literal about that idea of the wind in the house, but it's got obviously a layer, which is the meaning of the poem. And it's by Louis MacNeice, and it's called House on a Cliff. And Louis MacNeice is one of my, I love his work. I love lots of people's work, but he's one I like in particular. House on a cliff. Indoors, the tang of a tiny oil lamp. Outdoors, the winking signal on the waste of sea. Indoors, the sound of the wind. Outdoors, the wind. Indoors, the locked heart and the lost key. Outdoors, the chill, the void, the siren. Indoors, the strong man, pained to find his red blood cools, while the blind clock grows louder and faster. Outdoors, the silent moon, the garrulous tides she rules. Indoors, ancestral curse come blessing. Outdoors, the empty bowl of heaven, the empty deep. Indoors, a purposeful man who talks at cross purposes to himself in a broken sleep. So that's the man. And this is not the same, but a wee bit the same in the sense that this is me, and I'm not writing as fundamentally, profoundly as that, but I want to say thank you for being in this house. And so it's got a wee bit of similarity. And this is me writing something called The Gift. We broke the hard September ground, cut the track, dry thistles dancing, the earth beneath rich, fragrant with the sweet sweat of generations. Soft June, we sat deep in wild flowers, wondered we needed walls, when the gentle land gives stars, scents, the whispers of the ancestors. September again, and the patient rock bore a heavy concrete frame, a scar on the slope, crossing the toil-built terraces of the harder, simpler lives before. Come February, breeze block filled the frame, captured space, promised views, the gains, the loss, as yet unanswered. November, stone upon stone hacked from the living rock, rose to cloak the castle, stilled the tongues of ghosts. Another February, a human chain, carts, boxes, table, sofa, chest, possessions from a grey Glasgow, unwrapped in a Greek hillside. June once more, and voices sound the warm dark night, laughter and glasses clink in the air, a fragment of time in the land of the ancients, a gift. So that's my thanks for having this, which is a joyous place.
Excellent.
It was very atmospheric. I felt, you know, I could hear the wind, and yeah, a lot of imagery there. A lot of imagery there. Thoroughly enjoyed that. Look, this is what I'm saying. I love it. You know, it's not to be vain with the recording. It's just nice to listen back to all the poetry again. I can't wait. Thank you so much, Karen. David McDonald, do you have any poetry or prose you could share with us tonight?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to read something. I don't know where I picked this up. It's Breaking the Mold. I don't know if you can see it. It's because of my background, of course. It's a thing called Breaking the Mold Edinburgh. It was done by, I'm not sure, the Poetry Library or something like that, but it's about women and feminism from the World War I onwards. Obviously, the women that went through the First World War were born in the late 19th century and stuff like that. But this is, I'm going to read something from, I'm not sure if you've heard of her, Naomi Mitchison. Have you heard of her, Lesley? Yeah? Yes.
I'm laughing. Yeah, she's a relative.
Sorry? She's a relative of yours, is she? Was she?
Very distant relative, but Martin is my cousin's husband, so I'm laughing. That's two in a row.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Naomi Mitchison was quite a woman. She was a very interesting woman indeed.
Yeah, she lived to about 101, 102, something like that. This is in an older style. You'll recognise it's in a different style of writing because it was from 1942. It's not modern style at all. It harks back to a little bit older style. Possibly, you can say, almost in the style of Eliot to some extent, in its repetition, but not really because it goes on about something else totally different. This was from a book, In the Cleansing of the Knife, and Other Poems, released in 1978. But this poem, I think, is from 1942, so that's why I'm saying this. It's called The Farm Woman, 1942. Why the blue bruises high up on your thigh, on your right breast and both knees? Did you get them in the hay in a sweet smother of cries? Did he tease you and at last please with all he had to show? Oh no, said the farm woman, but I bruise easy. Why the scratched hand? Was it too sharp a grip? Buckle or badge, or maybe nail? From one coming quick, from camp or ship, kissing as hard as hail that pits the deep soft snow. Oh no, said the farm woman, but I bruise easy. There was nothing, my sorrow, nothing need be hidden, but the heavy dung fork slipped in my hand. I fell against a half-filled cart at the midden, and we were going out to the land. Nobody had to know, and so, said the farm woman, for I bruise easy. The tractor is ill to start, a great heaving and jerking. The gear, lever, jars through palm and bone, but I saw in a film the Russian woman working on the land they had made their own. And so, said the farm woman, and I bruise easy. Never tell the men, they will only laugh and say, what use would a woman be? But I read the war news through every day. It means my honour to me, making the crops grow. And so, said the farm woman, but I bruise easy. I find that poem was like quite stunning. I just selected it random tonight. That's amazing, amazing. I never came across her before.
She was, I mean, there's so much you should read about her, because she had a place at Carradale, and she used to drive her own tractor during the war, and she was a real character. And basically she then became the mother of an African Botswanan tribe in her old age. So and she recorded, I mean, she wrote amazing novels. I mean, she was up there, and it's only because I think she was a woman that she's not been so widely known. But she recorded some of the wartime diaries, you know, the mass observation. Mm-hmm. And that's a real insight into Carradale at these times. And she was a communist and really active, so she's worth finding more about. She's great.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. Sounds of such an amazing spirit.
Thank you so much, David. That was very powerful, and we thoroughly enjoyed that. And it's just amazing how we stumble across people, you know, just by accident sometimes. And I think we'll all be going out to read her work now. That's great. Before I read mine, I was just wondering, Jean, if you would like to share with us, a story about, you're actually based in New Jersey at the moment, and I was just to ask, you know, what's going on in New Jersey and New York just now. Would really be interested to hear.
Well, can you hear me? I put
yes, perfect.
New Jersey is we sort of live in a rural type area, so I'm really not affected as much as we were in New York City, because once we saw the numbers rising in China, we sort of knew that it would eventually make its way here. And then when Times Square became empty, the buildings started emptying of residents. They closed the streets to traffic. Stores were boarded up. They started rioting at one point, especially downtown, and they had the Black Lives Matter. I don't know if that you had got news of that. So it was a very emotional time, a very tough time for people. And not that it's, and I don't want to get into politics here, because we certainly have enough issues with our current administration, but I'm just hoping that it kind of pulls together shortly. New York, you know, Broadway is dark, there are no plays, no tourists, museums are shut, everything is just shut. My husband said, how about we go back to New York, just, you know, to check on the apartment, but there's nothing to do. There's no one to see. No restaurants, food stores, where I'm very scared just to even go in, even being protected. So it's just so odd to see New York, where there are millions and millions of people every day, where there's no one on the street. it's a ghost town. So out here, it's different because people are self-distancing. Everybody's yards, and you can interact with your neighbors from a distance, with people from a distance. And in New York, it's not like that. So it will be interesting to go back, and I do have to go back within the next couple of weeks. So I'm kind of gearing myself up to do that. We literally only live 40 minutes from New York, but it's the house is 40 minutes from New York, but it's just this stress that's there, and this feeling almost of hopelessness. And I don't want to jump in there right now until I really realize that I see sort of a light at the end of the tunnel for people, for businesses, for the healthcare system that's completely overwhelmed. And I just kind of keep our fingers crossed that it does run its course, and that a vaccine can be found. It sounds pretty promising at this point. So hopefully within, I don't know, 3-6 months, there'll be something better to report. How are things in Scotland? You said there are no deaths?
No, we've had about 10 days, 2 weeks almost of no deaths. We're double digits, probably. Most, I think, we've got a slight outbreak at a call centre. There's about a dozen people there have tested positive in the last couple of days, but it's been isolated, tracked and traced, and a couple of places closed down in the extended area that people have been, and everybody's been warned. The track and tracing seems to have worked, so that's what we're told today anyway. Apart from that, it's usually every day you might get 3 or 4. Most is like around a dozen, 15 cases, but we've been okay on the deaths in the past 2 weeks. It's been quite good, and they're scaling up for the schools to go back on the 11th of August, full intake. We've followed the models basically that I think New Zealand and other places. Greece were a lot more strict, I know, and Cardinal can tell us about that when it started, when it hit Italy, Greece closed automatically straight away the next day, almost as quick as that. Britain was late. We were 2 weeks. I would say, they say a week too late closing. We should have been the week before. I would have said the week before that, because we knew it was coming. They just ignored it. They just didn't take an effect. And I know part of my thing is I follow American politics quite closely, because that's one of the things I studied, and American history and stuff. And I know how bad your federal administration's been coping with things. It's just unbelievable how ignorant they are, and what they're trying to put out there to people, which is total untruths, because of the experience that people are not silly these days. They know they could go on the internet, as you are, Jean, and see what's happening in other places and how other countries have controlled it very well. The Far East, Singapore in the first week of January had already got the precautions in place. And even they've seen second spikes and things like that, but very quickly in control. And again, is New Jersey quite under control at the moment? I don't know. That's one figure that's not up. It's usually the New York ones rather than it's California ones, maybe Chicago and things like that. Definitely I know that Texas and Florida's just a nightmare at the moment. Absolute nightmare. They're the 4th highest in the world, never mind in America. They're the 4th highest in the world. It's unbelievable the amount of cases per day. And they just ignore it because they've got ignorant people in the administrations who refuse to believe science when it's in their face.
Yeah, New Jersey is well, my town is fine. We've only had 28 cases in the past, I don't know, few weeks. It's been steady. The cities, though, they're increasing a little bit, but it's kind of tapering down. But the southern states, where they, well, again, politics, but the southern states where they're not self-isolating, they're not wearing masks, they think it's a hoax. They're really the ones that are suffering the most. There are over 1,000 cases a day in the U.S. And I'm not even, I can't even look at the statistics right now.
Although
just
you've gone
because it's
over,
so overwhelming.
in total, it's over 4 million cases. I look at HKS TV thing that gives the online every day for every country in the world, and it updates every 10 seconds to 30 seconds for everything that's going on. It just goes red across the board when America the states start giving out their figures and stuff like that. It's quite horrendous. I think the last one was, is there 4 million people got 4 million cases, but you've got there's a lot of people recovered, but then that doesn't say that for the horrendous amount and the death count there is, it's just unbelievable. 3 times the death count almost coming up for that died in Vietnam. And that'll be, that it's like, certainly more, it's 2.5 times at the moment, something like that. They're going to be close to 3-4 times by the time it finishes, which is incredibly sad and incredibly, doesn't matter who, as you say, politics wise, it's just disgusting. It's just unbelievable because they're there. You
can't really help mentioning the politics, you know.
No.
And I've got the other extreme, whereas my daughter has not been able to join her husband in New Zealand because, you know, Jacinda Ardern has been so strict with her borders in New Zealand. So my daughter hasn't seen her husband for what, 5 months now. She's written a petition to the New Zealand government. She wants to rejoin her husband. She's quite happy to be in quarantine, pay for it for a couple of weeks. So, but I mean, we're all got different stories, but we're all one world, you know.
I know.
One world, and
my next door neighbour, Rose, her granddaughter's in the same boat. She's not seen her husband for 18 months.
Yeah.
She was supposed to go in March. She was stopped getting on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
She was actually in the airport getting on the plane, and they stopped her and says, "No, you can't go. You're not allowed." And they stopped her on the plane, and she's not seen her husband for 18 months, and they've got a wee boy as well. And the dog got to the dog, and your daughter's dog got to go as well. The animals got to go, but the humans got stopped.
Yeah, the dog just went a couple of weeks before and managed to arrive in New Zealand, no problem. But my daughter was refused to board the plane in London. And so she had to, she's sort of self-isolating in the borders right now. What's happening is, though, David, her husband's coming here in September and having to fetch her, take her back to New Zealand, you know. But, you know, Jean, I think, you know, you're better off staying where you feel safe right now, because I don't believe it's going to last. You know, I think it will get better, but yeah, I think you're right to do what you're doing. Stay where you stay, feel safe right now, and it might change, you know, in a month or two. But we can't help thinking about politics the way they're handling it all, you know. But I'm going to kind of read this mindful book right now. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, David, because this, we could go on and talk about this, and
well,
let's
Jean,
hope by next year. Let's hope by next year we're telling more hopeful and happy stories.
Yeah.
I
well,
hope
Jean
so.
maybe doesn't realise the difference from the UK government in London to what the Scottish government is. It's a separate administration. It's a separate on a lot of stuff, and the Scottish approach, that's been taken is different from the English approach, and the main government in Westminster is different from the three in the Welsh government in Cardiff and in Northern Ireland as well, the four parts. The other three, apart from the English part of it, they're the ones with the big problems because they've taken the Donald Trump solution. More or less. They've got all if you see the high figures coming through for the UK, it's not from Scotland, it's not from Northern Ireland, and it's not from...
I think today it was 110, wasn't it, David? 110 people, yeah.
In England, is that what they gave, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a dozen, there'll be, of that figure, there'll be 20 from the rest of the other three countries. And
you're making me want to read the Kiss of Thistles, my
yeah,
poem
well,
in there.
we'll know about that one, yeah.
I will actually read, because that was quite a passionate, you may know, Jean, that here, though everybody's, as we say, all politically different, a lot of people do want independence still here in Scotland. And when, because we're doing so well, I have to say, politically, Nicola Sturgeon, she's doing, not everybody agrees, of course, but I think she's done a splendid job over the past 3 months, no matter what your political persuasion is. Every day she gives us briefings, and she's really down to earth and tells it how it is. I don't know, do you know Nicola Sturgeon? She's our First Minister. So, she tells it how it is. And we also have that comedian, Janie Godley. You must listen to, she's so funny. And so she's lighthearted about it as well. But anyway, I'd love to hear more poems and prose. So if you have any other stories, please, that would be lovely, because are you okay? Is everybody fine for time?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, Rose,
okay,
yeah.
for time. So
You read your ones, Rose.
It's called Mindful Poems, but I'd like to read the introduction to Martin Stepik's book. It's called Mindful Poems of Hope and Experience. I like to read a part of his introduction because to me it's like a story on its own, and then I'll read a couple of his poems. I am writing this while sitting in a park in Warsaw before I head to a business meeting. It's a beautiful, warm, sunny day. A large fountain makes a lovely, soft tune for me, and the sunshine on the flying water really does make it seem like diamonds or ice are being poured up and down in vast quantities. Two elderly Polish ladies are sitting on the bench beside me, chatting gently in that pleasant tongue that my father and his sister spoke when they didn't want me to know what they were talking about. It seems an idyllic place to write, an easy place to feel happiness and hope. Yet this is the place those two old ladies probably saw completely in ruins in their childhood. The city almost completely uninhabited, and with 90% of its buildings deliberately blown up by the retreating Nazi forces. The two ladies then lived through Stalin's brutal revenge on Poland's culture and the way of life. Only in 1990 did the two ladies witness a truly independent Poland come back into being. By that time, the Polish people had rebuilt brick by brick, statue by statue, Poland's historic centre, and now, back then in 2015, it flourishes as a major European city, albeit with all the social, economic, and environmental challenges our species has created. In the attempt to create, we must be mindful, and for that reason, I would encourage everyone to practice creative arts of any kind. So there is more, and if we have time, I can read it. The introduction is like a story on its own. But if I just could read just a couple of poems from Martin. I play in the field of life, exploring every inch loving the rain as it soaks my hair, stopping every now and then to turn an insect trapped on its back. I play till night. When I am tired, I go to bed and put out the light. It was a long time ago. Many dreams and hopes have sailed by since. It's easy to live in the mirage past or the imagined future, but there's only one place to be and only one moment to experience. The miracle of being aware, of being alive. Laugh in the sunlight and rain, the slightest sound of rustled leaves. I think only of my love for you that can never die down. This spirit contains, it seems, a space where there grows and blows a joy that comes from beginning to understand. Smiling in sun and breeze, it shakes free everywhere. I am in control of my thoughts, like wind caught in my hands. And that's one of his poems from the Mindful. Beautiful. Please, if you have a chance to read this, every poem, can you see that every poem in this book is just so hopeful, and it really calms the spirit, you know. And I'm going to read. I'll read The Edge, because this is mine. It's about. I kind of like horses. I like the ecosystem. I like looking at flowers, trees. I know it sounds very, I don't know, but new age hippie type of thing. But it really calms my soul. I don't know about you guys, but it really does. And so this is called The Edge. With what we're talking about, COVID-19 and everything, we have to focus on positivity somehow, So this is called The Edge. Standing there on the hill, feel the chill on my cheeks, tear stained and so cold. Look back into the future. We walked past the horses. They galloped proudly, just like our family really, full of our own importance. Truth is, because we felt it, a unit on which we could depend, no matter if good or bad. We are on a cliff edge now, and there's no turning back, except we still feel the strength. And with this, we will all carry on. And that's kind of dedicated to my mother, because, from someone in your family, I get the strength from her somehow. And so thank you very much. That's that one. Can we go around again and maybe say a poem or a prose again? That'd be great. Thank you. Lesley,
sure.
please.
Yeah. I think just listening to Eugene, and I must say that if I hadn't my garden, I would have found it very, very tough. It's really, it's solace. It's wonderful to be in the garden. And I wrote this poem about 3 years ago now, and it was really after my sister was always saying to me, "Why don't you write about me? Why don't she lived in Italy for a long time, so it's all me. So she came and fell asleep in my garden, and I wrote this poem sitting beside her. And she was really miffed at first. She didn't like it because it wasn't saying how wonderful, how beautiful she was and all the rest of it. But this was published in New York. So this is also a little tribute for yourself, Jean, okay? And it's called My Sister Sleeps, and Rose knows this one quite well.
Beautiful.
My sister sleeps in my garden, shaded by a plum tree. The same tree the old man told me he stole from. His story, 90 years in the remembering. My sister sleeps, escaping from a story she would not have chosen to write. Hers, 25 years in the forgetting. With each exhaled breath, words escape, words she would trap if awake, malignant vapors that wreak havoc, draining her of the will to live. My sister sleeps, hummed into slumber by bees beating their wings against a blue haze of lavender, releasing its minty sweetness. My sister sleeps, and as the aroma bathes her, she's pulled further into a fairy land of rest, one she does not wish to leave. Surrendering, other thoughts invade her dreams, dreams of when she is that girl again, running through a wood of lilac trees, laughing as the wind soaks us in blossoms, clusters bouncing off her skin like tiny Parma violets. I know this as she smiles, when that same sweet scent drifts down from my own memorial tree to childhood. My sister sleeps, and I, sentinel, protecting, wait for her to surface into deep, turbulent water, her life. Shh, mia sorella dorme.
Excellent.
Excellent. That's a tribute to you, G. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Lesley. Beautiful. Nicole, do you have another wonderful poem from your book?
Thank you. I don't know about wonderful. I loved the Italian at the end. I worked in Italy just for a few weeks, and I'd been there years before, but I just love the Italian accent. It's just so.
Well, she lived there for 20
song-like.
years, and
Wow.
she used to send me to the local bakers when I would arrive, and my Italian was always ropey when I arrived. And I'm sure they used to say, "Who's that mentally defective woman?" But by the end of it, you were going in there and you were prattling away because you'd built up the confidence.
Yeah.
And I miss it. I miss going to Italy and get my little Italy fix.
Well, I think it makes sense to actually learn at least some of the language before you go to a different country, because I think people, too often go somewhere and expect everyone to speak English. I think that's really arrogant.
Well, she lived north of Milan in quite a small town,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I worked in
And it was the weird connection was, I think a few weeks ago, I read some poetry when I'd been invited to this beautiful art gallery in Milan, the Pinacoteca di Brera, to write in response, to the artwork.
Crumbs, right.
I know, it was a lovely experience.
I worked in Villaggio Ambrosiano, just outside Milan, just for 3 weeks. I was an au pair, but it didn't work out because I just hated it.
3 weeks in au pair,
absolutely hated it. I left. It was horrendous. Anyway, but I went to Lake Como, went briefly to Milan, and the Dome was amazing. Yeah,
she's near the lakes, or was near the lakes,
Como's
so you can understand why I get miffed. I can't go to Italy.
Oh no.
Anyway.
Aye, well, someday soon, someday
we're all
soon.
drifted away.
And it's better. And we have better lochs here, I have to say. Blows Italy's lochs out the lakes out the water. Totally.
They're just different. It's like the mountains that surround them are different.
Yeah.
And
that's the difference.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, Scotland's scenery is incredible, but I've got this one. It's called "What Is Pain?" Now, bear with it because it does have a good ending. But this is, I wrote this at a time of real serious mental angst, and yeah. Anyway, so what is pain? Pain endures in the brain. Memories made more concrete, lasting from pain's induced fear, triggering the fight or flight response. Some people learn the hard way, like me. Physical pain is temporary, but lasts in one's mind, subconscious till it rears its ugly head. If you let it take over you, it can ruin you. Pain is fear, addiction is pain. Pain pulses, draining your resolve. Yet, physical pain doesn't last, temporary, until the trigger. Never knowing, always on guard, anticipating whatever, whenever, however, stop. Punch the cushion, scream from the top of a mountain, let it out. Never let the bastards win. They will suffer mentally too, eventually, on their deathbed. A second from the end, they will feel your fear tenfold. That will be your revenge. So live your life safe in the knowledge there will be retribution someday. It's inevitable. Be kind to yourself. Be good to yourself. You are worth it. That's from The Homeless Diet.
Excellent.
Thank you, Nicole. You know, we'd love to have a workshop, I think, on self-publishing, because your self-publishing is just fantastic. Is that self-published, or is it?
Unmute yourself, Nicole.
So this is self-published on Amazon KDP, but that's one of my own photographs from up in Bucky, and that's the back of the book, and that's The Homeless Diet. But David's got great books as well. He's got loads more than I have.
I admire people that can actually self-publish such quality work, and I think that one day I'd love to have a workshop, a proper workshop about going about self-publishing, because you could wait forever to be published by a top publishing company, you know, and
well, David actually helped a lot with me, because I had already self-published, but I wasn't happy with them. And then David showed me how to do tweaks like contents pages and how to do it automatically on Word, and really made a huge difference to the presentation of the inside of the book. It made a huge difference.
You know, if you're doing the I'd love to. I mean, amazing if you could do a workshop about that.
I did do a workshop with Five Rights. It was a workshop on just presentation of how to lay out a book, and the electronic part, how to do. It was a 2-hour workshop, but the guy took an hour and a half to do the stuff for the paperback part of it. I got 30 minutes to do signing into Amazon and how to do it. So that's not nearly long enough, and it's changed now since then. So I agree, another workshop might be needed. If people, it's just to give people the confidence of and say exactly what you need to put in and how it needs to be done.
Step by step, you know.
Yeah, it's when you see how easy it is, actually, you wonder what these publishers actually get their money for. Yeah, there's guys like Jerry Cambridge and that has been laying things out brilliantly for years and stuff like that. But they can, and I'm sure Lesley is involved in that kind of stuff as well, helping people and things. So it's just something
certainly to think about, because I think it's a great thing to do, you know, rather than having, you know, reams of paper. Isn't it great to actually read from a book? And you know, and I've always said, if a few people like your work, that's all you need. You know, sometimes it's about writing for yourself, isn't it? You know, and enjoying other people's work as well. But yeah, a workshop, guys, that would be good on self-publishing one day. Love that. Karen, do you have a poem that you could share with us, or any other work?
Okay. So I've on the theme of kind of living in houses but not living in houses. My last one here is a poem by Stuart Patterson. Jean Stewart is a Scottish poet of this generation, and he was the BBC Scotland poet in residence at one point. And he comes from Ayrshire, which is the home of Burns, our most favourite and famous poet. So it's, and the theme is happiness, and I thought this might be teary after sadness. I've made my own museum of happiness, which isn't built of brick or stone or wood. Its walls, the thickness of the day, a flapping tongue of canvas, held in place by rope and peg to stop it flying off joyously and away, up into everywhere in time and space. I'll carry it around with me to pitch beside the sea, in a field or by that river, a billowing, rickety marquee, a travelling show of personal delights, performing one night only and forever. What sights, what wonders, see these things unseen, except in meanwhiles, vivid dreams, smile, laugh and gasp, and live a lifetime, somewhere in between the daily grind of minutes into hours. Be amazed by happiness's alchemy, transmogrifying days of certainty to joyous, raucous aeons of impossibility. Step right up, pay nothing, be called in to watch the carnival of you begin. Carnival of you begin. Begin the show to beat all shows where nothing's out of bounds and every good thing goes around and comes around again. Not down or out, and you're the hottest act in town, the permanently top display, the troop of you booked every solid, single, smiling day. Thought that would cheer us up.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing Stuart's work. I hope he listens to this recording. We need to let him know. We need to tell him.
I'll actually tell him.
Yes,
He sent me.
That was brilliant, Karen. Thank you very much.
Karen, he's been doing a lot of walking, you know, where he lives on the coast, you know, down into Fraser. And the poetry, he's bringing out another collection, and he sent me some to read.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I think it's the most lyrical stuff he's done. It's really lovely. It's really nice.
Look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Karen. David, do you have anything you can share with us, please?
I do. Do you want? I've got one that's from not the book. It's in the middle of in middle of publishing just now, but the one that will follow on its heels, which is called "Where Are We Now?", which is the follow-up book to the hashtag How Did We End WTF? How Did We End Up Here book that was in 2017, which if it was an album would be a quadruple album rather than just a double album, because it's a big book, that one. This one's just that one will be a normal size. I could do that one, or it's called Bigger Things, or a thing from our poet laureate at the moment, Jackie Kay. I've never, they're not that long. Mine's is a bit longer than Jackie's, but do this one. It's called Bigger Things, and it's relating. It's political. Oh, the book that's come. That book is going to be very political. I'm surprised in 3 years that I've done another. I said I wouldn't do one for 10 years or something like that, but it's 3 years, and here comes another political poetry book. Massively, it's hot on the back of the other one. It's the next one step on from how we left it at the last book. So hopefully the next one after that, the next political one, I could leave for maybe 4 or 5 years once Biden's gone and AOC's in. We can do something more cheery. Okay, Bigger Things. What seemed to be such a big thing disappears when everyone is living in fear, in panic and afraid that they could be the next to die, and those in power can't handle the situation, like the gunslingers of old, Now the badges are painted on. And those little things don't mean so much when your life's on the line. And those in power you gave your rights to don't take care of you and give protection. That very thing above all they're meant to do. In exchange for being elected leaders to our nation at a time when we need big government the most, and they are needed most, no one there seems to care. And if they do, it's a dereliction of duty or still asleep at the post. But they peddle lies every day, hoping it will all blow away, and the media don't take them to task. When, why don't you just do your job, is all they've got to ask. They know it will be okay if they play it softly and do it their way, while the virus takes more lives every day. They know we have sussed their game, and when it's all said and done, who'll be the ones to blame? If only enough were angry enough, there'd be a total revolution today. Not by those right-wing terrorists with guns, but by the majority of those who are not fooled by the lies. There's bigger things that mean much more. Nothing is bigger than life and protecting yours, so we can breathe some clean air before they come and take it all away. That was that one. I'll read this other one. This is from the first book as well. George Square, this is called. This is a place in Glasgow for Jean. It's the main square in Glasgow where the city chambers and things are. It's by Jackie Kay, our poet laureate of the moment. I think she changes again. Is it next year? We get another one. We get somebody else coming next year, something like that. This is George Square. My 77-year-old father put his reading glasses on to help my mother do the buttons on the back of her dress. What a pair the two of us are, my mother said. Me with my sore wrist, you with your bad eyes and your soft thumbs. Off they went, my two parents, to march against the war in Iraq. Him with his plastic hips, her with her arthritis, waved at each other like old friends, flapping, where they met so many marches over the years, for peace on earth, for pity's sake, for peace, for peace. That was Jackie. That's Jackie's contribution in that book. It's absolutely fantastic. I can't even remember where I got this. It's just amazing. Poems by women and the stories about the women in feminism and stuff like that from World War I onwards. It's amazing.
Who published it?
It's actually a booklet type publishing. I don't know if you can still get it. I think it was part of an exhibition or something like that. Of I'll see here. It should tell me on the.
Good point, Karen, but I forgot to mention the publisher. So hopefully at the end we can do that. Mention any publishers.
Published by the Workers' Educational Association, Gayfield Square, Edinburgh, WEA, produced it. It's a charity registered in England and Wales and Scotland separately. I can't even remember where I got this book from. It must have been from some thing that I was at, and I was able to pick it up. But there's the words on the front and things like that. It's as I say, it's just lying on the shelf, and I picked it up the other day to read something. It was just amazing.
I love this. We just, I've got a book. Lots of books through there. I don't think I've even clicked through half of them. So There's a lot. This could go on and on. All these authors and writers. It's so exciting. So exciting. Thank you. I'm going to do, because we're talking about feminism. So I wrote this poem quite a long time ago. With the Prince Andrew and Epstein. That's a connection. Not a great connection. You know, the Prince Andrew and Epstein scandal. You know, and this is why we're so connected in many different ways. And there's a few references to the United States in this one as well. And it's called Learning More Lessons. Okay. You might not recognize some of the names, Jean, because you know they're kind of UK television presenters, but you might understand the gist of it. Learning More Lessons. Watch today news on television concerning harassment and rape twice. 2 separate programs explaining about male testosterone. Victoria and Newsnight, I believe, warnings. Women should be very wary, especially about weird predatory men and their natural animal instincts. They were showing many animals to highlight about male aggressions. Is this now the top news stories? This now, along with the fear of knives? It seems that society is turning inwards. UK media now examining more crime reality, transparency and exposure more the trend. Long has indecency been kept under wraps. Yet many of us know about the topless girls showing it all freely for decades in the sun. Benny Hill chasing women with boobs. They all had miniskirts, letting it all hang out. Top of the Pops tainted with Jimmy Savile, making everyone feel sick to their stomachs. So lessons are being taught all over again, defining the cultural rules of decent behaviour. Obscene Hollywood behaviour shouted out, reminders that mixing cocktails of power stink, with a lethal dose of testosterone and stages that gives rise to office at inappropriate verbatim, found in the London Houses of Parliament and in the White House, Washington, DC. Also, count in the offices of Joe Bloggs. Watch out for the Christmas party, do. So how, at this time of writing, can sexual behaviour ever change again? Short of going back to long skirts and women not showing their ankles. Tell me, because I really want to know. Sorry. That's all over the world, and I think we'll say no more about the scandal. I think that we'll find out what's going to happen with Prince Andrew and the Epstein scandal. I'm sure we'll all find out soon what's going to happen there. But I'd just like to finish off, but please, if you have anything else you want to share with us, I'm going to finish off with a happy poem from Stephen Barnaby, his happy 50-word poems. I love Stephen Barnaby so much. He runs an event in Musselburgh. He's not running it at the moment, but it's just such a happy event, really cheerful. And that's his drawings, some of his funny drawings here. Stephen Barnaby. He was actually a judge, one of the Federation of Writers Scotland's short stories. He was a judge for one of them. I'm so glad about that because he's just brilliant at really short stories. I hope I read this right, Stephen. So, my granny's shameful secret. My granny was very nearly perfect, warm, twinkly-eyed, house-packed to the rafters with home baking, boiled sweets growing in every pocket she had, though one terrible flaw which endangered her very membership of the Grannies Union. No matter how well I taught her, she just couldn't suck eggs. But if I may, can I just read again? I'll lend you this or I'll send it to you because you must read it. It's so hilarious. Okay. This is called I'm Appalled. I'm appalled by the violent nature of computer games today and very concerned about the effects that they might have on our children. How they make me pine for the innocent days of my childhood, those lazy summer mornings spent with the bedclothes over my head, pretending I was bombing Dresden. I could go on, you know, but I guess time's limited. But thank you, Stephen. As I say, I've still have this book's actually from 2014. He's written a lot since then, but that's how I was introduced to Stephen Barnaby. And well, you know, next week I could read a couple more if you would let me. But
actually, I've been thinking we could almost arrange a complete blind poet reunion at Type Wronger Books. I think Tom would be up for that.
That would be amazing.
But then we can't all cram into Type Wronger Books. There's enough space for about 5, maybe with the distancing. There'd be enough space for 2 people in the shop, 3 if there's one in the back of the shop. But then back to normal. It used to cram in.
You know what's extraordinary? You know, because what we can do is, David. Honestly, that's. I'll hold you to that, David. Like, you're my witnesses. I'll hold you to that.
Well, we need to do something about getting Alec through from Paisley.
Oh, Alec Beattie. Oh
yeah.
Gosh.
And get Roddy when he's not working and stuff. What
a fantastic thing is, though, we can actually project now. We can have a computer screen like they did at the World Slam Champion, Lesley, with
Yes.
With our friend Catherine McFarlane. So everybody could see what was going on at the event. I mean, you can have that too. Even if there's only a few people, however, we can show on the computer screen. Oh, we've got all lots of ideas, haven't we?
Well,
But,
the thing to do it is it's that thing with it's called StreamYard is the thing that they use. And it does Facebook Live and YouTube Live and Instagram Live all at the same time. And it allows people to view on these platforms while you're running from StreamYard. And it's, I don't know how it works at all.
Well, you know how they talk about blended, they talk about blended learning. Perhaps we have blended entertainment, because we're so used to now, you know, projecting around the world, that I really think that this is something that's going to happen, you know. I hope so. Would anybody else like to read one short poem each before we go and have our dinner? It's been great. I don't want to keep these too long, because so is anybody?
Well, it's the middle of the afternoon. It should be. Gina will be looking for going for it's 5 hours behind.
What time is it there? Is it?
Let's see, it's 3:43 here.
Oh well, okay, it's tea time. It's afternoon tea, perhaps. Yeah. Lesley, do you have please a poem you could share with us? A last poem each. A last poem each would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay. This was in response to a painting of a mother and child. Okay, and the little girl kind of looked. She was quite young, and she looked as though she didn't really want to be in her mum's knee. She'd been pulled in from outside. Anyway, it's called Butterfly. Time and sun have left their mark, mapped your day, your play, defined your soft edges. From your feet I wash the day, venerate your presence. Those moments when you allow me to hold you close, feel the pulse that once resided within me. Stubborn, always the stubborn one, the waited for daughter who wishes she was another, leaves time at home along with dresses, runs to abandonment, gathering the verdant, my butterfly. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Lesley. Nicole, do you have a last poem that you can share with us?
I was thinking I'd do it off by heart, off the top of my head, but I don't wanna, I'll do this one. Mountain biking in Pitmedden Quarry. After an arduous climb with mind focused, honed muscles strained, a wall of wind asserts itself and reminds me instantly of how desolate this place is, making my face tingle in the rain, acutely aware of the sounds I hear as I grind down shingle underneath the pylons that hum their monotonous music.
Oh, that was it. Oh.
Beautiful. But whether you read that or memorised it, that was beautiful. Thank you very much. Lovely. Karen, do you have one last poem to share with us?
You caught me on the hop here.
Sorry.
I'm just looking. Jean, I don't know if you've heard of Edwin Morgan. Have you heard Edward Morgan? No.
No.
He's a sort of generation before poet in, you know, of the 40s, 50s, 60s, right through to the 80s and 90s. And he's been very influential. He taught poetry at Glasgow University, and he has brought on generations behind him. And I'm just going to give you this one because he's a Glasgow, well, he was based in Glasgow, and this is called the Glasgow Sonnet. Let them eat cake, make no bones about it. But we say, let them eat the hope deferred, and that will sicken them. We have preferred silent slipways to the riveter's wit. And don't deny it, that's the ugly bit. Ministers' tears might well have launched a herd of bucking tankers if they'd been transferred from Whitehall to the Clyde. And smiles don't fit either. There'll be no bevying, said Reid at the work-in, but all the dignity you muster can only give you back a mouth to feed and rent to pay. If you lose that, if what you lose in bluster is no more than win patience with I need while distant blackboards use you as their duster. Sorry, I messed it up at the end there. But you know, he writes across a whole series of things. He writes concrete poetry as well. I was going to read The Loch Ness Monster, but frankly, I don't know if anyone has ever tried to read it. It's very difficult, but worth a look.
Well, we look forward to hearing that next time. If you can, yeah.
Practice.
You know, you're absolutely right, because see, when you're reading other people's work, honestly, I think you do have to read it a few times first, because what responsibility we have to read other people's work, you know?
You think,
oh
you know.
My gosh, that's why I get nervous sometimes when I'm reading. I'm thinking, just read it how you think, you know, it looks. And yeah, as you say, and
Yeah.
Edwin Morgan, you know, he's a big influencer, Scottish, very, very famous writer here, that you want to get it right.
I know, yeah, exactly.
You know? And I have to say, Nicole, you were very brave reading I know your family's from the Shetland, but reading any like dialogue or accent, you know, even Italian accent, you know, people are going to be watching this. Okay, you might watch us. You come on and help us then. we try our best. David, do you have another poem or story to share with us before we finish?
This is participation, so everybody's microphone on.
Ooh.
Oh,
Cool.
This is the last poem that was ever read at goddamn debut slam as part of the slams. It was done as a bit of a joke because there were short of people that night on the last night, which was a shame. Now, if you remember, there's program Monty Python. You familiar with Monty Python, Jean?
Oh, yes.
Yes. There's a very famous sketch in it called The Lumberjack Song. Nicole knows what's coming, and that's the theme. That's the theme of this. It's the Lumberjack Song, but I've changed the words a little bit. and just used a little bit of the refrain, obviously, for this. This has got you. I'll start. It's called the Woofy Dog Song. We'll start you off with. My line is this. We'll go a little practice to see how we are. I'm a woofy dog and I'm okay. I woof all night and I woof all day. That's my part, and I'm going to be doing this as the song part of it. Yeah. Your response is, he's a woofy dog and he's okay. He woofs all night and he woofs all day. And between the verses, each verse, I'll put my hand up if I remember. Like you sing, he's a woofy dog and he's okay. He woofs all night and he woofs all day. This is the participation part of it. Now, I've had typewriter books full of people doing this. I've had hotspots doing it. I've had, believe it or not, goddamn debut slam. The place was full up with people, and they all did it as well. It's like just, it's so silly and stupid that everybody just joins. Yeah. So this is around the world. This is from Greece to New Jersey.
There you go.
For the woofy dog. Okay. I'm a woofy dog and I'm okay. I woof all night and I woof all day. He's a woofy dog and he's okay.
He woofs all night and he woofs all day.
I pee on trees, I eat my lunch, I go to the lavatory. Wednesdays we go shopping and I've butter scones for tea.
He's a woofy dog and he's okay. He woofs all night and he woofs all day.
I pee on trees and I run and jump. I like to eat wildflowers. Their chests all scaredy cats and hang around in bars.
He's a woofy dog and he's okay.
He's okay.
He woofs all
night
night and he woofs all day.
I pee on trees, I wear pink bows, I with a tiny bell on my collar. I wish I'd been a pussycat, just like my dear papa.
He's okay. He woofs all night and he woofs all day.
I'm a woofy dog and I'm okay. I woof all night and I woof all day.
He's a woofy dog and he's okay. He woofs all night and he woofs all day.
Incredibly silly, but I think if I was doing that for a class of like 6 and 7 year olds, they'd love it.
Well,
even like older, it's just like everybody. I could do more. I could do other versions that are, as you can imagine, are a wee bit cruder. There's one that's got a version that I do that's got a crude verse in it, but.
Oh, go on, David. Come on.
No. That's the one that's from my book. It was published by Forward Press years ago. They were writing poems about animals.
Mm.
So I sent in the woofy dog, and I then collected all the stuff that I'd had, the 63 poems up to 2014. Published by other anthologies. 63 poems all went into the one book called First 63. And the picture on the front of that is my own picture taken from Tomic Falls up in Strathspey on the front of that book.
Well, I think it's brilliant, because, we have really serious poems, but to have audience participation like that, I just think that's absolutely wonderful.
It's just something. It's just something silly to do. You know
silly,
what I mean?
Daft. Yeah,
and it's
silly
like
and
everybody's
daft.
been like that night. You know what these types of things. There's young girls and that spilling out their heart about breaking up with their boyfriends and stuff, and other talking about things, and then just to go up and do something daft and silly, because it's not. Wasn't even intending to win it. I knew it was never going to win the goddamn debut slam type thing. That always went to.
I was one of the judges that night.
Yeah,
It just
never
lightens.
give me 10.
Well, it just lightens the whole you know,
It did. It did. It ended it on a great
Atmosphere.
and a high. It ended that part of the night on a great thing. It's just funny. What does Jean think? Do you have woofy dogs there? Do you...
No, but I did enjoy that. I could use a laugh, and thank you very much.
well, we'll have more of that next time then. That's what we'll do. We'll have more of that next time. Well, thank you so much this evening.
Thank
Thoroughly
you.
enjoyed it. Well, here in Scotland, I can see it's 5 to 9 in the evening. And in the United States, what time is it there at the
5
moment?
to
Jean?
It is 5 to 4.
5 to 4, 5 to 9 here in Greece. Karen, it's
5 to 10.
5 to 10.
Karen's on.
Time.
Karen's on mute though.
Well, anyway, thank you, Lesley Traynor, Nicole Carter, Karen Anderson, and welcome. Thank you very much,
Hope to
Jean,
see you
tonight.
again, Jean.
It's been such a fun evening. I really hope we see
Thank
you
you.
next week. If you can't make it next week, any Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we'll keep going on and on.
I'll be,
And,
yeah, every week
thank
at 2
you
for
so
you,
much.
Jean.
David, and
Thank you so much.
No
Take
problem.
care.
Bye.
Bye. Have a
Bye,
great week.
guys. See you
And
later,
I'll put-
folks.
Jean,
Bye.
I
Thank
shall
you.
put this
Bye.
up on YouTube. I'll put this up on YouTube and you can see. We'll listen to it all back again. You know, when we have time. Thank you
Okay,
so
great.
much.
Thanks. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a
Yeah,
fantastic
bye.
week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.